Hello, hello. How's everyone doing this afternoon or evening if you're European? I'm back. Yet again. Get my microphone up on me here. So today we're talking about Hypnagoga Press, one of my very favorite labels, right along with the one that I was talking about earlier today, Orgelhuset. Some really great sounds on this label. Most of it by Per and Åsa Bostrom, brother and sister over there in Sweden. And there's a couple other people on several of these albums, but they are the two main people behind the label. So most of what I'll be talking about today will be related to one or both of them. And I've done a lot of reviews on This Is Darkness of these releases that I'm talking about today. Not all of them, but a decent bit of them. And I actually have an interview there on the site of both of them, I believe. So I'll show you that. I'll show you guys that here in a little bit as well. I'm gonna go ahead and pull that up while I'm thinking about it. I think we'll check out a little bit of their Hymnambulae album here first. Pull that up on Bandcamp, and we'll have a little listen of their first album, Orgelhuset. And while we're having a little listen to this, I'll go ahead and grab the physical release so we can have a look at it. Turn that down in my headset just a little bit. I got it blasting in there. Yeah, so here's the cover art. Real pretty gold foil text on there. And then the CD just slides out of the side here. Orgelhuset is the organ house in English. Then we have a booklet here that came with the album, quite a thick booklet. We got the track titles, and then there's a lot of different artworks in here. I'll just flip through a couple of them here real quick. Really pretty stuff here. Then here's an image of both of the people behind this project, the brother and sister duo Per and Åsa Bostrom. You guys will likely know Per from his Kammerheit, City's Last Broadcast. Those are his two main projects that are not released on this label. But I would imagine at least a number of you are going to be quite familiar with both of those projects, and if you're not familiar with these ones that I'm talking about today on Hypnagoga Press, then you should definitely rectify that. There's the label logo there on the back of this one. So they started this label basically when they released this album, so this came out in May of 2016. So their Hypnagoga Press has been around for about 5 years now. And we'll check out a little bit of another track here. and get this ready real quick. Hopefully you guys won't mind listening to the music for a second here while I do that. Those vocals there were Osa. Some nice mint tea here. Not drinking coffee for once. I'll have some more coffee after the stream ends. And they have a lot of different art prints, and I'll show you some of their zines that they've published over these last few years. So the first art print here is just sort of a standard one for the Hymnambulae project, which is what we just listened to there and we're talking about. And then this one is specific to the album that we've just been listening to. And it says on the back, "Bring forth the moon, bring forth the sun, from hand to hand, and then no middleman. Read the light and guide it." Really beautiful stuff there. And then the second album that Hymnambulae released is Nausikaa, and this one is from this released on May 15th of 2019. So I have the vinyl and CD edition here personally, and this one, I believe the last one was as well. This one's definitely mastered by Simon Heath of Cryo Chamber, and this is a really interesting release for them because it has Gunnar Ekolof reciting his poetry, and they've put their music as sort of a base to go beneath the poetry. So real beautiful release here. I'll play a little bit more of that for us. And I'll show you guys a little bit of the album here while we're listening. Have all of his poetry in here. On this side we have it in the original Swedish, and then on this side we have a translation in English for people like me that don't know the Swedish. So that's really helpful for me. I really love that they did that. Real nice inner sleeve board here. Then we have a quite thick vinyl. This might be 180 gram. It's probably at least 160. This is a real solid one here. And I love the artwork on this. Check out that art. If I can get it up there, right there we go. And then we have, this is the back side. And this is pretty cool. This is actually sponsored by the Swedish Arts Council. So it's cool that the country is kind of recognizing that they're doing a little something for the Swedish culture here. Another art print here that's themed for this album with Gunnar Ekelöf. And on the back of this one it says, "The diver in the dream, seen with the Cyclops' eye, days as unreal as the underworld, paths and roads of sand along seabeds, between cliffs that appear in the water, carrying below scepters of seaweed, high stalks with heavy crowns, brown with iodine. He knows. Somewhere in this enchanted forest there is a fresh water spring, sprung from the deep, sweet and drinkable in this labyrinth of salt." And then we have the CD version of it here, you can see. And then the CD also has all of the poems in it in English and Swedish as well, which is really nice. And this is a bigger version of that artwork that you saw on the vinyl. I really love that. Yeah, this is a really, really chill project. It has sort of a Eastern feel to it. Some real sort of foggy, dark ambient with this sort of Near Eastern feel, and some of the tracks really bring that out a lot. There's one particular track that has some flute on it that really adds to that feeling of the sort of distant nature of the release. And then moving on to their most recent release by Hymnambulae. This is Andarlīh, I believe is how you pronounce it. This one has a real cool story behind it. I'll go ahead and play some of the music here and then talk about the story. This one was also sponsored by the Swedish Arts Council. Then we also have a booklet in here. Come back over here so you guys can see a little better. It's all art on this booklet. Then we have the CD here. And then this one also was released on cassette, which I have here. Just a real sort of subdued black version here, one for this one. I'll pull out the J card here to show you. Got the tracks on that, and then you flip it open and we've got an art print on the inside here. So, the description for this album: the light of the moon carried through the earthen doorway, a word from the desert, a word from the mountain, a word found in water. Neither awake nor asleep, the offering quietly transcribed. Andarlīh is the third album by the ritualistic duo Hymnambulae, recorded in Umeå in the subterranean church of Saint Anna, located 90 meters below the ground in Lapland, Sweden. Electroacoustic ambient music largely consisting of zither, harmonium, pedals, and tape loops. And this came out in September of 2020, and this one was mastered by Frederick Arber of Cyclic Law. So they usually, it's pretty interesting for these different releases on the Hypnagoga Press label. I believe they're all mastered by either Simon Heath of Cryochamber or Frederick Arber of Cyclic Law. Depending on the album, they choose one of the two guys that they think is going to be the most fitting for the feel of that release. Which I think is a real cool idea, because mastering does have a bit of an influence on an album, so it's nice that they have two people that are so well trained and practiced at mastering that they can choose between the two of them from album to album. Turn this up here a little bit and we can hear some more of it before I move on. There are only 8 copies left of the cassette here on their Bandcamp page. That's out of 100. And the CD has 200 copies. And it looks like there might still be, I don't know how many, I guess enough that it's not counting down the remaining 10. So if you want a cassette, you should probably get on that. And if you want the CD, maybe you could go a little slower, but you probably shouldn't. Both quite reasonably priced, €7 for the cassette, 15 for the CD, not too bad. Yeah, and so I'll go ahead and read here their description of the project that they said. So, Hymnambulae is a ritualistic music project by the Swedish siblings Par Bostrom and Åsa Bostrom, striving to seek a vocabulary for the innermost and deciphering the liminal spaces. Liminal sort of being that space between awake and asleep. In a basic... That's my like one sentence description of that, at least. We'll just let this music kind of hang out in the background with us here for a second, and I'll discuss these the Solar Zine. They haven't done these in quite a while, so I don't know if they'll be doing any more of them or not. Hopefully they will, because they're really, really nice. But we'll have to wait and see on that. And I'm pretty sure that these have all been sold out for quite a while now. So I'll go through these here in order. Here's the Solar Zine number 1. And it's just a really, really beautiful paper. The feel of it is really nice. The look is just quite beautiful. So you see that this is like almost like a really nice like wallpaper almost that's on the inside cover here. I really enjoy that. And then they're just sort of talking about the Solar Zine here, and they've both signed this one. I don't know if they've signed all of them, but they definitely signed mine. They probably signed all of them. And then they have a little description of the two of them here. Let me get my finger off a pair's face. I'll just go ahead and read this while we're at it here. Bostrom is the co-owner of Hypnagoga Press, has several music projects, including Hymnambulae, which we're listening to now, Kammerheit, and City's Last Broadcast. He's a printmaker and an illustrator with tendencies for compulsive drawing and imaginary animals, currently living in Umeå, where he has his music studio. And his sister, Usa Bostrom here, is the co-owner of Hypnagoga Press, and she makes mixed media and assemblage art, writes fairy tales and poetry with tendencies for sultry and grotesque dreamlike settings, and composes music as Hymnambulae. Certified yoga and writing teacher with a BA in comparative religion that after years of traveling, working on cultural projects abroad, has set up studios in a countryside house in Inyansson. And then this came out at the same time, I think, as their first album, so they're talking a bit about that first release here. It says, together, if this is for the first one that I talked about, Orgelhuset. Together they've created an album largely consisting of tape recordings of organ, piano, and voices combined with deep droning ambient, recorded in 2015, featuring flutes by Sergei Gabasov. Orgelhuset was intended as a mythological house between worlds, a ceremony taking place, combining the siblings' symbolism. Packaged as a digifile, with a 32-page booklet and a slipcase with gold-embossed letters and limited to 800 copies, mastered by Friedrich Arber. And then, the next one we have here is a little interview between the two of them. You see them both sitting there in this very nice-looking garden, having a conversation, and they go through their conversation about the label here. And then we've got a bunch more images. Just a really wonderful edition here. And this page here we have, on this side is a drawing that Per has done of either himself or some other wizardly fellow with a nice beard being disturbed in his sleep by this cute little mythical creature. And then on the other side here, we have some of Osa's mixed art that she's done. I've been able to see a little bit of this stuff in person, and it's really, really impressive. I really love it. So yeah, if you can somehow find a copy of that, I highly, highly recommend it. Really, really beautiful editions here. Then we'll move on to the second one. Here's our cover. Sorry for the plastic crinkling. Then again, on the inside cover here, we've got this really nice, like, almost like wallpaper artwork. Then on the other side, we have a snowy forest. And then they talk a little bit about this edition and their recent releases around the time of this edition. And they have a little feature in here about the Altarmang's debut, Void, which I'll be discussing here shortly. Then we have some more coverage of Altarmang in here, with Kenneth Hansen is the other artist in the Altarmang project. Really, really interesting guy. I also got to meet him and have dinner with him one night, and he's really, really fun, and he's just about as mystical in person as he is in these images. It's kind of funny. Not funny, but I mean it's very fitting for him. He did not disappoint. I was really interested to see what kind of fellow he was. And so for a couple of these cassette editions that I'm going to be showing you guys today, from some of these earlier ones, they worked with Primeval Vision, which I've shown off a t-shirt that I have by them. Primeval Vision is is sort of the printing house, I guess you would say, that does if not all of the Oral Hypnox releases. So all of those albums that I was showing you guys earlier today and in that previous Oral Hypnox stream, all were done by Primeval Vision. So I assume that they are still working with other artists. So if you guys like the way that they do their releases, you might want to get in touch with Primeval Vision and see if you could get something like that done for yourself. And then here we have an interview with both of them that was conducted by myself, which is cool, right? I kind of forgot that I did that. It's always nice. It's like humbling. I mean, I'm proud of it, but I try not to be too proud of a person, but I do feel a lot of pride when I see these things. Then they're showing some of their different upcoming releases. I'll save that because I'm going to be talking about a lot of those. And then we have some more really beautiful artwork here. Look at that scenery. Which hand is which? I've got my hands confused on the camera. Really beautiful artwork there, photography. And then finally we have the Solar Zine number 3. This I believe is the final one that they've done up until this point. Again, we have this really, really lovely inner cover that's sort of like a wallpaper. Different one for each one. Each one just as nice as the one before. First page here, talking a bit about what's in this scene, and then they're talking about the Bonini Bulga sealed project, which I'll be discussing here momentarily. Then this page, they're discussing a bit a ceremony that they had there in 2017. And we have a interesting map here that looks at some of the projects that have been and will be released through the label. So that's kind of cool. And I mean, this is it sort of talks about the releases, but it also sort of maps out their whole, the whole sort of situation. Then they have a journal entries from various days throughout the time that they were working on some of their different releases. And I won't show the whole rest of it because you guys should see if you can check it out for yourselves. Hopefully, I don't know, maybe you can find one on Discogs or something potentially. They're probably all safely stored in somebody's house at this point, though, as mine have been. So yeah, some really beautiful stuff there. And next we will move on to Altarmang here. Void is the debut by Altarmang. And we'll play a little bit of this while I talk about it. And first I'll show you guys the physical releases, and then I'll talk about it a bit more. So as I mentioned a moment ago, this is one of the cassettes that's done by Primeval Vision. Recorded 2014 through 2016 by Per and Kenneth Hansen. And as you see, this opens up in the same way that those Aural Hypnox releases did. Then we have the cassette here on the inside. And then this is the same release here on vinyl, with a bit different of a cover art, which I really like. I really love this. This record is really nice quality. And this may be exclusive to Autarkeia. I'm talking about it because it's released also on Hypnagoga Press, but I think this vinyl was done specifically by Autarkeia record label, which I talked about quite a bit in my Martin Blad and IRM stream about a week ago. So pull this out of here, and we've got a really beautiful inner cover there for this one, with a couple images of Per and Kenneth as they're working on the music. Get this up close here. You can see Kenneth is a very mystical looking person, and as I said, he does not disappoint as a person either. I've met him, and he's quite a unique fellow. Then we've got the vinyl inside here, Sulfur and Ether, the two tracks. They're both about, Sulfur is 19 minutes long and Ether is 15 minutes long, so it's just about a 35-minute album split between two songs, between two sides of the record and two sides of the tape. I'll skip into this one a little bit here so you can hear a little bit of Sulfur. We were just listening to Ether there a moment ago. And then here's an art print that I believe came along with that, but it may have came with one of the Solar zines. I can't quite remember. It's been about 5 years since I got it. And then their latest Altarmang release, I'll pull this one up here next, is called Moth Star. This released in December of 2020, so this one's not too old. And I really love this album. And I really love this track. The whole album's great, but I particularly love this first track. I actually had an earlier version of this one on one of my This Is Darkness compilations, and then they sort of reworked and remastered the track and put it on this album. which is awesome because now I get to hear 2 versions of the song that I absolutely love. Switch my glasses here so I keep seeing this glare in my eyes and it's annoying me. So yeah, this one's released on cassette. Just cassette and digital for this one. Again, only €7 for the cassette, so it's pretty reasonable. And then it says, Mothstar is the second album by Altarmang, an intuitive sonic exploration of planetary and abysmal constellations captured on reel-to-reel tape, a documentation from beyond the walking sleep. Made by Kenneth Hansen and Per Bostrom, mastered by Friedrich Garber. So, yeah, one of the interesting things with Kenneth, I think may have got him in the first place working with Per, is that he has some, I haven't seen them myself, but he has some really cool old reel-to-reel tape recorders. So they sort of work up the music and then they just run it through that reel-to-reel tape recorder, sometimes numerous times in a row, and just get this really thick feel on top of it. A thick tape, just really old sort of feel. So it gives it a nice warmth. And here's the cassette. Now, I believe these ones were not done by Primeval Vision. This was direct from Hypnagoga Press. This is more in line with a regular type of cassette that you would usually see. This has the words printed right on the cassette for this one, which I really like that. I always like when they print directly on the cassette. I think it looks really nice. Then got the inside of the J card here. 2 hooded figures. Actually been rolling through this too fast. I have some YouTube videos that I wanted to show you guys here, so we'll go ahead and pause the music and look at some of these sort of teasers and trailers and things for a couple of these releases before I get too far ahead of myself. This first one here is going to be for the Altarmang debut, Void. I'll go ahead and pull up the video here for Moth, which is the release that I was just talking about, their Altarmang second album. And this one's about 7 minutes, and I'm just going to go ahead and let this one play out, so I'll be right back with you guys here momentarily. Yeah, I really love this release. I listen to this one quite often when I'm doing tarot readings. It's pretty much the only thing I listen to when I'm doing tarot, actually. I usually just kind of put it on repeat until I'm done. Um, Really fantastic album there. Can't say enough about that one. And I'll play a few more of these clips here before we move along. Most of these are all shorter than that one was, so we won't have any more 7-minute ones here. But I really love that album, so I thought I'd let that one play out. And thank you for stopping by, Mate. Yeah, I definitely, I've been planning on doing the Hypnagoga Press special coverage since the beginning for sure. I still have like 15 different things in my head that I'm planning on covering, so it's just a matter of working my way through them. And yeah, that release is really fantastic. Um, what else have I? Yeah, we'll do the Hymnambulae Nausikaa. I do want to. I do want to show that video because it's really cool. This is for this album here, the Hymnambulae Nausikaa. And this is just about a minute and a half.
Jag har lika mycket kvar att göra, ungefär. Sen 3 år har ämnet förföljt mig under olika aspekter. Men nu måste jag ge upp ett tag. Därför att detta att skriva sådana dikter, att få dem färdiga, ordnade och så vidare. Sådana dikter som absolut inte har med idyll att göra utan tvärtom. Med lidande, grymhet, passion och överhuvudtaget allt det som vi idag ser omkring oss lika väl som de gjorde det då. Det tar grepp på krafterna så att jag måste ta en paus, en rast.
I really highly recommend that one as well. Absolutely fantastic album. And then we have another quick video here from the same project, Hymnambulae, the most recent one, Andarlīh. And this one is also just about a minute, and there's some really cool visuals in this. Yeah, that shows a little bit of their I believe that is some some videos that they took while they were there in that underground church. Burning some frankincense revi. Really nice stuff. This stuff just melts right down on the electric burner there. Smells amazing. Next, we'll talk about Bonini Bulga, which is a solo project of Pears. The first release is entitled Sealed, and that one is on cassette and CD. I'll pull up some of the sounds from that here. So for this one, it was only the cassette version that was released through Hypnagoga Press, and then the CD was actually released on Cyclic Law. And this one was, of course, mastered by Friedrich Garber since it was on Cyclic Law. So yeah, this has that Primeval Vision packaging again, as I showed earlier. There's our cassette. With the track titles there on the back. And then, as I said, this is a Cyclic Law release here that's on the CD. Beyond theophany and behind revelation they arrived, Bonini and Bulga, an unlikely manifestation of being and unbeing. They stood there, they bowed, and they bent the room they had entered. Behind the Hierophant's mask, Bonini, with the power to know, to shift, and to unveil. The paths of hidden light and eclipse, turning inward, a cowled head, overlooking thought. Behind the mask of the other, Bulga, with the power to create, to root, and to merge. All shapes there to inhabit, all geometries there to unfold, a crowned head overlooking process. And they sang, sealed as one. And we have a trailer for this one that I'll pull up here real quick. We have some really creepy imagery for this release. Really beautiful stuff. And then That was their debut, and so their second album, Bonini Bulga's, is called Blood Name. We have the cover art here. Back of the album. Insert. Actually, I'll just wait and play the trailer here in a moment. And then we have a booklet inside of this one. Remember the Bones. And then I have a flyer here for this one as well. I think this did come with the CD, I'm pretty sure, for this one. And then the back of this one says, "Night swallowed the day, as a star led the vessel through the wilderness, up to their house." And then I'll pull up the video for this one. And it might be worth mentioning, I did ask Per about this. If anybody's using any sort of dark ambient and ritual ambient albums for magical works, for background music, unlike Aural Hypnox, who basically recommends that you should sort of proceed with caution when working with their releases, because they are all ritual albums, and they do take the rituals seriously there. And some of the material that they work with can be incredibly dark material from a magical perspective. But when it comes to Hypnagoga Press, I spoke with Per about this, and he said that while some of these releases can be quite creepy, they are not that sort of magical darkness or evil entities or any of that sort of thing that you need to basically you can, if, like I said, I listen to some of this while I work with tarot. I listen to some of it while I'm working on astrology charts. I usually meditate in silence, but you don't have to sort of concern yourself that you're bringing any kind of dark entities into your space when you're listening to these releases, though they are very much ritually driven and focused maybe, but nothing that would sort of put you in magical peril. I think that might be a good disclaimer to make here. It probably would have been a good disclaimer to make for oral hypnox as a warning there. It's not so necessary here. Probably more so over there. But yeah, maybe that's a thing that people would like to know. Yeah, so I'll just pull up the Bandcamp page here real quick so you guys can have a look at that. The Bonini Bulga Blood Name. And this CD was released through them. And they do still seem to have some of those left that you can pick up if you want. And this is a minimalistic ritual ambient. And the first album was the first Bonini Bulga album, I believe, was just Power Bostrom, but the second album includes USA as well, and it also includes tape engineering done by Kenneth Hansen of Altarmang, which we spoke about a few minutes ago. He does that tape work to give it that real nice warm, old warm feel to it. And then this one was also mastered by Friedrich Garber of Cyclic Law. Really, really highly recommended album. I recommend all of these that I'm showing you, but again, that one is up there towards the top of my recommendations. The next one here is Teahouse Radio. And I think I'd like to just go ahead over to that page and talk about the description for it from there. So this CD is actually sold out already. So if you like this one, you'll only be able to pick up the digital version of it at this point, unless maybe you can find it at a distro. I will be talking about one official distro that they have now towards the end of the stream. But I recommend picking most of these things up directly from them, especially if you're in Europe. I've spent a lot of time with this album. This has got me through some really dark days. We'll check out a little bit of this track here, Dreaming Splendid Spaces. I have fallen asleep to this album many, many times. It's a really, really nice album to put on quietly in the background and just kind of relax to it, and if you're ready to fall asleep, it's not really going to draw you out, but it is definitely a nice active listen as well. It's one of the few albums that I would say is equally nice for sleep and for active listening. And it's a great album for reading too. So they say about this one, turn this down just a little bit here. Teahouse Radio is a music project by Per Bostrom. Her Quiet Garden is the debut album, consisting of songs pieced together sporadically since 2004. So he's been working on this Teahouse Radio for a long, long time. This has been just a slowly created project over many, many years, since almost the beginning of Kammerheit. And the songs were recorded in a creative frenzy during a few late summer days in 2016. It's an album about summer houses and winter towers, about the changing of weather, how one feeling changes to another, the loss of a loved cat, a real garden becoming an imaginary garden, depression as a pond, years of therapy and music as the main counterpoint, about escapism, psychoses, a giant who walked in and out of the world, decorating it nicely, an oral tale, half in water, another half in the northern woods, childhood through nostalgic binoculars, a wardrobe to another place, a gentle knock on the door in the oak tree. Acoustic instruments are blended with electronic equipment, forming a somber ambient music of tinkling tape loops and humming pedal drones. Final editing and mastering done by Simon Heath of Cryochamber. So I'll go ahead and show you guys the CD here. You might be able to pick it up secondhand somewhere, but it does appear that these are all sold out unless there's some laying around in a distro that you would maybe want to get quickly while it's still available. Really beautiful art on the inside here. I think he'll show some of it in the promo video that I'm going to show here next, but the way that he did this inner art is really nice. It's a really cool cool concept. And if it doesn't go into it over there, then I'll explain it a little bit more afterward. But here's our the inside. Here's the beloved cat that has passed on. I really like that font that they have on the inside. It's sort of a childish handwriting that reflects the sort of look back to childhood and the years ago throughout the album. Then a really, really beautiful CD. I love that. And that is the urn, of course. I believe this was about Cosmos, but it could have been Aslan. I can't remember which one of his two beloved cats this one was referring to. I'm sorry, Pear, if you're watching this later on. But I know that's the name. That's one of the two of those cats. Really lovely release there. And as I said, those sounds have got me through some really, really depressing times as well. Some of the worst days for me back in 2017, 2018, I guess. This album was like a warm blanket to me. Yeah, here we go. Behind the scenes of Her Quiet Garden. Well, okay, so we'll play the album trailer first, and then we have another 5-minute video that goes into a bit more detail about Her Quiet Garden. So you see, this is how he made the cover art. It's all, like, actually he painted all of these things and then cut them out and then stood them up into a 3D sort of scene, and then took that image of that scene for some of the images here on the album. I'll just show you here real quickly. A true artist, this pair. Yes, he really is. He's a man of many talents, and I cannot get enough of his music and his artwork. He's one of the people that I talked about, that usually when people release so much music and so many different projects, it just becomes a blur to me, and I can't distinguish one album from another. And if there's several different projects, I'm like, is this project or is it that project? I can't really tell which one this is. But every single one of these releases, they all stand on their own. They all fit into the category of each of the separate projects. When one comes on, I can just tell. I know which project it is, and I know which album by that project. And that's a very rare thing for me when people have so much output as this. It really, I mean, he's a good friend of mine, but regardless of whether I had ever spoke to him in person or not, I really would love his music just as equally as I do. But yeah, you can see there, these images, now that you've seen that video, this is actually a 3D image of things that he's crafted that all himself there. And then we get it for the inner artwork of this album. And so I'll go ahead and pull up the second video here for this release. Behind the scenes of Her Quiet Garden. Okay, yeah, we have it. And thanks for stopping by, Deinonychus. Oh, I gotta turn this up. This location where this is all happening at is at his parents' house in Jensen. Maybe not this section here where he's actually working on the art, but her quiet garden is there at his parents' place in the countryside. Look at that storm. Well, that got me a little emotional. Um, as I said, this album's got me through a lot of hard times, so it's sort of bittersweet for me. And I know the story of the album that's also quite sad with the passing of his cat. I believe this is, as I said, I'm pretty sure this is Cosmos that passed that this album's about. So this is her urn here, and as you saw, I hope he doesn't mind me mentioning this. It's a bit personal, but I don't think it's anything that necessarily he would want to keep a secret. But he's actually spending the weekend there right now at that house by himself. And when I talked to him yesterday, he said that he was actually planning on burying the urn with his other past friends there in the Quiet Garden. Next, we're going to talk about Aindulmedir, and I think I will start this one with showing the video, maybe, and then we will look at the Bandcamp and check out maybe a bit more of the music and some of the physical release stuff. So yeah, this release is a bit more dungeon synth, actually, sort of winter synth, I should say, as you probably noticed there through those really cool synth sounds. So this is a bit different than the usual for their label. Although you know, with the release with Gunnar Ekelöf on it, that's sort of already they definitely take things in some different directions here, but it all has a very nice it all comes together nicely as a whole for the label. The whole label really feels like a good combination altogether. So this one was on CD, and also there are 3 cassette editions, which are all sold out. You might be able to find them on Discogs or maybe at a distro somewhere, but it looks like the best plan is to pick up one of these 200 copies of the CD. Yeah, here's the cassette. This was the first edition here. And then here's the second edition. And this one's got a real cool tape design. You can see the cassette itself is a real nice, really cool looking design there. Yeah, we'll check out a little bit more of this one before we move on. Oh yeah, this is a great track to listen to here. Really love this stuff. It makes me want winter right now, especially knowing how hot it is outside. Goodness, it's terrible out there. Aindulmedir is a music project by Bostrom based in the north of Sweden. Winter music for bibliophiles and hermits. Melodic ambient music crossing the borderlands of a novel Per is writing. And this one came out on January 21st of 2019. Really chill stuff. Really laid back winter synth. Fantastic project. And this one caught on real nicely in the dungeon synth community. They're really digging Aindulmedir, which I knew they would. I knew they were gonna love it. the next one that we'll move on to is the second release by Aindulmedir. This one came out on February 11th of this year, so this is, I believe, the newest release on the label. Let me yeah, this is the newest release. The one before that was the Altarmang Moth Star, and then before that was the Hymnambulae Andarlīh. So you kind of get an idea there of their three most recent releases. I don't actually have this one, but I do have one of their little art prints from it, so I can show you this. And then we can go ahead and watch the preview, the teaser video here for it. As you can see, again, there's some really lovely winter synth. So yeah, we've got the cassette, 100 copies, sold out probably very quickly. I'll put a little bit more of the music on here in the background. I love this Arctis Mara. This is an amazing track. The Winter Scriptures is the second album by Aindulmedir, a collection of melodic improvisations and nighttime recordings intended as winter music for bibliophiles and hermits. Music and art by Bostrom and mastered by Simon Heath of Cryochamber. And I'll go ahead and read Captain Carbon's review that he left on the site here. Captain Carbon is I think he might actually have a website, but I can't remember off the top of my head what it is, but he is always at the top of the Dungeon Synth album comments. So when you get a good comment from him, you know you did something well in the Dungeon Synth community. So he says, Dungeon Synth comes in many varieties, from the lush and orchestral to the very minimal and solitary. The Winter Scriptures marries both the cold style of winter synth with the improvisation nature of one composer creating works in the bleakness of cold. Aindulmedir offers the world a 55-minute soliloquy on the nature of desolation, and through music no louder than flickering candles in a sparse cathedral. And then I'll also read off here, Bruce from God Body Disconnect on Cryochamber left a comment that says, "It's very rare an album this good comes along. It will be considered a classic in due time. Crawl under a warm blanket near a crackling fire and feel the season of winter flow through your bones." Yeah, man. It's just really amazing stuff. I'm not a creator, it just gives me the urge to sit down and read, and I just want snow outside my window and a good book. But yeah, if I were creatively inclined, I would agree with you. It inspires me to create videos like this, I suppose. Yeah, we'll listen to a little bit more of this one here. This is going to be the final release that I talk about. So, actually, I guess I'll just keep talking since that's the case, and we'll keep listening to this in the background as I do. Turn it down here just a little bit. Try to talk over it, but keep it up a little bit. So I have a few more various art prints here that have come either with albums or with one of the solar zines that I was showing off earlier. Here's just a little handwritten note that Per gave me, and I just wanted to show that because look at that beautiful paper that it's printed on. It's just a really lovely Hypnagoga Press print that he's just using to send people like thank yous. I don't know that this is related to a specific release. If it is, I'm not sure, but I think this is just generally a Hypnagoga Press art print. I think that came with one of the Solar zines, I'm pretty sure. We have another really cool one here. And then this one is sort of a specific to the label itself. And another label-specific one, and then this one has on the back of it the different albums by them that had been released up to the time. And it says here, Hypnagoga Press is an independent music label and press. We specialize in music, literature, and art, cataloging the land of the innermost. Hypnagoga Press was founded in 2016 by the siblings Per and Åsa Bostrom, based in the north of Sweden. Then I'll show off the rest of the prints here. So at this point, everything else that I'm showing is not Hypnagoga Press related. This is just a couple different things of pairs that he's sent me that I just kind of wanted to show you guys while we were on the topic of his things. So this is Kammerheit related art prints here. You see 4 Kammerheit cards, and this is signed by Per and has 21 of 50. So there weren't a whole lot of these made, and I don't quite know where you can get them if you want them. They're probably all gone already. So I'll just kind of let you guys have a look at these here. This was done back in 2014. Really beautiful stuff. This, I believe, is the cover art of his release from then in 2015, The Nest. I don't know if it's exactly the cover art itself, but it's, I believe, probably taken at the same... It was probably an image that was taken at the same time and place as that cover art, if not actually used for it. Then we have a sort of creepy looking building here. And then the final one I have framed because it's hanging out usually up on my bookshelf, but I pulled it down to show you guys here. I really love this one. All of these are just really dark and evocative. Then, final stuff that I have here. These were some various artworks that he's done over the years, just sort of to have fun for himself, or sometimes he sells these. There was a video that they put up a while back of them. Per and Åsa both had taken their various artworks to a church and were selling them there. And it's kind of funny because he says, like, some of these are really sort of religious-looking imageries, and kind of like the people that were buying them are probably like devout Christians and might be a bit concerned if they knew what his musical output was like. So I thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, really, really cool stuff here. And these are like, I don't know exactly how he did it. I'm so horrible with this stuff. But it's like some sort of like a rolling press kind of thing. Like you, I don't know, it's sort of like a stamp, but not a stamp. But he like cuts all of these himself, and then makes them into these images. Alright guys, so I think that concludes my Hypnagoga Press coverage. Oh, one more thing I wanted to mention here before I'm done. If you are somewhere in Europe, or if you want to pick up directly from the artist and support them as much as possible, then I do recommend picking up anything that you've liked today off of their Bandcamp page, the Hypnagoga Press Bandcamp page. But if you happen to be in America, or at least in North America, I'm not sure exactly where they're out of, but I'll hop over here. Anathema Publishing is now carrying some of their releases in their shop. So, there we go. If you go to their music distro here, you can see they have a whole Hypnagoga Press section in their distro now. So, you have the option of picking it up over there as well. If you happen to be buying some Anathema Publishing books, then you can also pick up some Hypnagoga Press releases at the same time. And then they're also carrying some Cyclic Law and some other various artists and labels there as well. So if you happen to be picking anything up from Anathema, then you would want to check out their music selection now as well, because they have a pretty nice little selection there. Alright, so I hope everybody enjoyed that. If anybody's here that has any questions about the label that I could answer, maybe I can. If not, I'll probably go ahead and say goodbye to you guys and hop off of here. But yeah, that's one of my very favorite record labels. I really listen to this music all the time, just constantly listening to their music. So I can't recommend it highly enough. Awesome, thanks Deinonychus. Yeah, I had fun talking about it. I've been looking forward to covering this one, but I wasn't in a hurry to do it, but it was definitely going to happen. So, yeah, thanks a lot for stopping by here today, guys. If anybody's lurking in chat that hasn't followed yet, a follow would be greatly appreciated. And if you want to keep lurking, that's cool too. So, yeah, I'll go ahead and say goodbye to you guys, and I am going to... Oh, cool, Mate's still hanging around too. Yeah, dude, thanks for sticking around and checking this thing out, and I hope you found some cool stuff there. I really love Pear's work and everybody else involved with the label as well. It's just every single release is fantastic, and of course the ones that I said I highly recommend this one, then there's a little bit extra on top of that. So, yeah, guys, thank you all so much. Peace.